Hector Bellerin, Bellerin, Hector Bellerin.
In by Mustafi. Bellerin, brilliant! 2-2. Hector Bellerin, Bellerin, Hector Bellerin.
Somber Sunday for followers of Arsenal Football Club. Welcome to the latest edition of Saved by the Bellerin, the Arsenal Football video pod here on the Sports Talk Line Network. Joining you from the United States as usual, I'm Raphael. My two English cohorts are below me on your screen. Sam directly beneath you. Sam.
Hope you're well.
To his left on your screen, Ryan. Welcome back, Ryan.
Hello, mate. Glad to be back again.
All right, we have the stereo Ryans today. We have a guest, another American, give us a little international balance on the show. Arspro Ryan from same old Arsenal USA. Welcome, sir.
Thank you for having me on, guys. It's a pleasure.
All right, let's jump to it. North London derby, very frustrating North London derby. They're always awful when Arsenal doesn't take the points. This one particularly so. Ryan, guest Ryan, I'm going to refer to you as guest Ryan, so I don't mix you up with our regular Ryan. You've had 48 hours to let this kind of simmer down. What's still eating at you about this result?
Weird. I'm probably gonna have some interesting takes, weird takes. Not too much. So at the end of last season when we finished 8th place, and even through the off season, I have said that we are not a good team. At the beginning of the season, everyone had high hopes. Even with bringing in Arteta, I said we're still not a good team. He's going to improve us, but not by that much. Don't expect such a big turnaround. And we kept losing these games. Losing to Leicester, drawing to Leeds, losing to Wolves, getting beat down by Villa. I don't want to say too much was par for the course, but I kind of in the back of my head, I'm like, I told you so, I told you so. But the only thing that really upsets me is, we lost to the, scum down the road. I think that's the only thing that's eating at me. And they kind of did it with ease. We knew what they were going to do. And you'd like to think Arteta knew what they were going to do, but we let them do it anyway. So, that's always rough to lose games like that.
Sam, that still sticks in my craw. Again, we talked about it. Everybody talked about it. We had a Spurs guy on last week, and he talked about it. We all knew they were going to try to counter, go up their left, Son, really trying to work through Kane in the middle, Son on the left, and they did it twice. And we all throw up our hands and say, what is that?
Yeah, because quite frankly, our defence are naive. You know the pockets of space that Kane and Son operate in. Yet watching it, you can see we're so high up and leaving so much space down our flanks, and that's what they like to operate in. And ultimately, for the first one, we shouldn't have allowed Kane to turn and play the ball off to Son. But again, Bellerin's caught up the pitch. The way that he's come back is baffling because he's run inside of Holding. You're the right back. You deal with that situation. Leave Holding in the centre. But ultimately, it goes back to an age-old adage of Arsenal. And with our defence, we seem to constantly retreat back to our box instead of engaging higher up the pitch. If somebody's coming back on a cover, engage higher up. If the player skips around you, you've still got that player coming back round to either hold the person up or make a challenge. But second one, again, caught up the pitch. Fullback caught up the pitch. I don't know what the hell he was doing because Bellerin, again, he's started to run inside and then run backwards. And just looking at the tactics of what we've done, attacking Spurs down the sides was right. Was our execution? No. Was our tactics defensively right? No. Is what it is. I'm still pissed about it. Just got to move on from it now.
Ryan, still struggling horribly to create chances. 4-3-3, as much as we all cry out for it, has been a step backwards or a step sideways from an attacking perspective. Arteta has who he has. What can he do at this point to squeeze some more shots? Period. A lot of possession, not a lot of productive possession.
The tactics we had on Sunday, I think they were the right tactics of trying to get down Spurs down the wings, because the guy we had on the pod did say their weakness was their fullbacks. So we've targeted them, obviously, but the ball going into the box was diabolical. The final cross, the final pass was disgusting. Tierney was the only one that played any decent cross into the box. And you've got to think, Bellerin and Saka have played with Aubameyang for 2 seasons now. They know exactly where Aubameyang needs the ball, but yet they're still lumping it to the back post, expecting him to win a header. As Alex Scott said on Sky Sports, Aubameyang has scored 3 headers out of 74 goals. He's not going to score headers against Spurs. And it's all down to the player making the final pass. There's instance where Bellerin could have cut the ball back to Saka, and he didn't. He played it to the back post. There's instance where Saka laid it across, and Lacazette didn't get on the end of it. Absolutely bottled it. And for me, the tactics were right, but the execution was wrong. I do think our best way of attacking is going down the wing, because they are our strongest players.
All right, guess Ryan, we're going to talk about this again. We're going to let you take your whacks at this, because again, this is a topic I'm sure you've talked about it in your sites where we talk about it a lot here. Just again, some regression, lack of cohesion. Our Ryan was putting his finger on it, like trying to ask players to do things that are not their best. In many ways, it seems these guys have been together, and they were so good together in the run to the FA Cup, and now there are long stretches where they look like they've just been introduced the morning of the match.
Yeah, so it's interesting. Like my big thing when I saw the 11 was I still don't know how Granit Xhaka gets anywhere near this team on a daily basis. You could say I'm a huge anti-Xhaka guy. I don't know. People say I have an agenda against him, but he kind of proves it to himself every time he steps on that pitch. He's just very very unathletic, very immobile, and that's the thing. I agree with what Ryan said. I think we definitely need to utilize their attack their fullbacks. Their fullbacks aren't very good. But in the same respect, I think we needed to approach the game a bit more defensively, which is what we were doing in the first half of the season. And all the fans and all the media was going, "Oh, you guys aren't scoring. You guys aren't doing this." But we're putting up clean sheets. We're losing 1-0. We're winning 1-0. And I think that kind of aided Arteta a little bit. And I think he kind of cracked under the pressure and was like, "All right, here, I'll go to a back four. I'll do this." I think against Tottenham, we should have went with a back three, actually. And I think we should have kind of held that defensive shape and been more disciplined. And, the 2 times that, well, it was more than 2 times, but the 2 times that they scored against us, we played right in their hands. We did exactly what they wanted us to do. So I think it's just having someone like a Granit Xhaka. Yeah, it looks like we're going to play more defensive, but I just think personally he's just so bad that he just offers us nothing. I think someone like an El Neni would have been great, because he's got the motor. He can move around. He would have been a great partner for Partey, and kind of would have enabled Partey to not run as much and maybe not get hurt. I don't know. Maybe he could have helped him out a little bit, but it's just tough, because part of me saw what Arteta was doing, and part of me was like, yeah, but to me it made no sense playing Xhaka, and even to an extent playing Willian and not even putting Reece Nelson on the bench, who's been phenomenal. Yes, in Europa League, but phenomenal nonetheless.
All right, you put your finger. You've identified one of the real whipping boys of the gallery, and we're all part of the gallery. But another one, the biggest one, was making some media headlines, social media headlines today. two rumors. I'm going to go to you, Sam, of Mesut Ozil departing finally in the January window. One sending him to Turkey. The kind of the more elaborate and intriguing one is sending him to DC United, a club he's been linked with in the past. But this one had a lot more meat to it. Rumors that DC United and Ozil are working on some longer term projects, which raises, at least to my eye, the possibility that this is more than just some Twitter rumor.
Yeah, as you said in the Patreon chat that we've got, that with DC United, they had Wayne Rooney there last season. They were able to afford quite a substantial wage for Mesut Ozil. Again, it's a big coup for them if he was to go there. The thing for me, and I said on Twitter today, like with Mesut Ozil, if he's actually bothered about playing football, which I've got serious doubts right now, he would be playing in the under-23s like Socrates has been doing. And I think with him, he's been advised to have a PR wage war against Arsenal in any situation, and I believe that the recent leaks of the clear the air talks, the fight between David Luiz and Ceballos, that's all come from him and his agent. It's very difficult with Mesut because I just think he's going to stick in. The only loyalty that he wants to see is that loyalty payment at the end of the season, and that's what I really think right now with him. And it's a shame because I was a massive fan of him, buzzing when he was here. But right now, as soon as I see any headline with Mesut Ozil, I just roll my eyes because, quite frankly, even his war of words with bloody Piers Morgan on Twitter, it's just like, for Christ's sake, just concentrate on football matters. Do you really need to be having this? It's stupid. And yeah, for me, I don't even think the team would be doing any better if he was in the pitch. It'd just be another passenger like he has been for the last couple of seasons, to be honest. So for me, Ozil isn't somebody that will change this side. But yeah, I just think if he's actually bothered about playing football, he'd move in January and end this debacle right now, to be honest.
All right, gentlemen, we're going to talk about transfer targets because transfer targets are coming up. We're going to talk about ingoings, outgoings. We're going to lead everything off, though, for like a minute. I'm going to put a chart up on the screen, and it is our it is my what is it? Where did it go away? It's not sharing. All right, so I'm going to go to my desktop. I'm going to bring up a slide that I created, and we've seen this on the show before, and these are the top 11 salaries as of last year. All right, give the followers a chance to absorb this. Starting with Mesut Ozil. I haven't adapted. You see Pierre Aubameyang there. I'm not sure what his new salary is. It's much closer to Mesut's than it was. He was making 175K on his last deal, which just came to an end. But you notice there's not a lot of return on investment from this list. And I want to make a couple of points about it before we go forward. One is notice the players who are yellow highlighting. Mesut Ozil at the top, Sead Kolasinac, Shkodran Mustafi, and Socrates at the bottom. 4 players who are making somewhere in the neighborhood of, I added this up, £615,000 per week. None of them are in the starting lineup. None of them are even getting really close to the pitch at this point. I think Mustafi has played a little bit in the cup matches, as has Kolasinac. Socrates is with the under-23s. Ozil is often off on planet Ozil. Terrible return on investment. But even of the players that we look at there, I want to highlight 5 more players with stars. Again, Mesut, there is some overlap. Alexandre Lacazette, Hector Bellerin, Sead Kolasinac, Shkodran Mustafi. Okay, now I'm going to end the screen. I'm going to bring it back to our chat. Those 5 players were all acquired way back when Arsene Wenger was still the manager. We might call them Arsene zombies. I mean, there's like the ghost. We made the joke in our Patreon room that the ghost of Arsene is haunting his old number 8. It's haunting Adieu too. His two old midfielders who are now running the club. Ryan, we can talk about sexy names to bring in, but everything starts with getting as much of that Deadwood out the door. How likely is that? I mean, everybody knows these contracts expire at the end of the season, but how likely is it to get 1 or 2 out next month?
It's going to be tough because we all know how tough it is in January to buy players. So it's no different for any other team to be able to afford players in the winter window. And I just don't think anyone will want to pay these bums the wages that they're on, because they haven't proven that they're any good at football at the moment. They're not performing to the level required. And I don't know who's going to pay Sia Kolasinac £100,000 a week or anywhere close. I don't think anyone's going to want to pay a fee for Mustafi when they can get him on a free transfer in 6 months, unless we just terminate his contract and just take the loss on him. But then that's a £35 million loss we've made on him, which we'll probably make anyway. And yeah, just these players, I just don't think we're going to be able to shift them until next summer. It's a tough thing. I just think we're just going to have to take the hit and not register them. The same with Ozil and Socrates, because I can't see. I was actually nearly falling over when I saw Mustafi linked to Barcelona. I thought, what are you doing? Kind of thing. And
A bag of balls.
Shocked. And I can't see Bayer Leverkusen coming back for Sead Kolasinac because he's not very good. So, yeah.
All right. So, Arsblog Ryan, there was a market for some of these players a few months ago. There were rumors that clubs were kicking the tires on them. Obviously, their wages are the primary buffer, right? And one of the problems is that I think Sam has been the most articulate about this and the most vociferous about this, is that a lot of these players are very content taking their money and didn't want to go on and further their careers elsewhere if it meant taking a cut of any significance. Let's let you. I'll let you pick at it. I mean, we talk about possibly War could come in, and we'll get to those names in a moment. You know, Siboslay, everybody's kind of thinking about him, but what's the out? Names got to go out. Who goes out? How do they go out? If you're KSC, if you just bite the bullet and say, okay, we're 6 months out. We'll just take our pain now because this club is drowning.
Yeah. To me, the only thing that'll save us would be bigger clubs coming in. You know, like we said, Barcelona for Mustafi. Apparently, I mean, I'll take a signed Messi jersey and we'll send you Mustafi, no problem. But there's also links him to Milan. So I think that's our best chance. Mustafi rejected a contract extension from us.
Gazidis,
and
right? That's Gazidis still? Yeah.
And I think that, he wants to leave. He sold the club. He wants to leave for free in the summer, whatever. But I think our best chance is some of these players that have the contracts, going away in the summer. We need to get some kind of competition going in January. If Milan thinks, we're the only team in the race for Mustafi, they'll wait for the summer. But if they know, hey, Barcelona's knocking, maybe Ajax is knocking, maybe Real Madrid, and just making teams up, they're like, we should probably put a little bid in January. To me, that's the only way these players are going to leave. Because if not, these players are just contracts going to run out, they're gone. Which, to be honest, as Ryan said, is probably going to happen. We're going to have to take the hit anyway. But I don't care. These guys need to go. At this point, we're so far in. Our grave is so deep in the ground. We got to just take the loss and just move on. Yeah, sure. It would be nice if Barcelona and Milan are arguing over Mustafi. That's a dream world that I would love to live in. But if not, they go for free in the summer. Players like Mustafi and Kolasinac, then, so be it. And to me, the defining moment, or one of the defining moments in, bringing these type of Deadwood players in was when I think it was either Luis or William. They were talking, and either they said this in an interview or it came out from one of their agents, how they were trying to convince Oscar to join Arsenal, who's over in China, playing for China. As soon as William joined, him and Luis, old buddies at Chelsea, they were talking, and they would constantly talk on the phone to Oscar, like, Oscar, you got to come here. It's great. Yeah, it's great. It's a retirement home. You get paid. You don't really have to do much. Sure, you'll be slandered in the media, and nobodies will talk crap about you. But you make, you're going to make an easy buck. You're going to make an easy paycheck, and you don't really got to do much. So that's kind of the state we're in now, and I don't really see things like that changing, until the summer comes and until these guys just leave.
In the meantime, Arsenal sits 14th in the table, last I looked. So, but Sam, that screams something needs to be done. And the other Ryans have said, well, maybe you've got to just not register players. You've got to create space. Let's talk about the players who are rumored to be targets. There's 3 of them, and we'll talk about them in no particular order. Dominic Szoboszlai, the Hungarian, who's at Red Bull Salzburg right now. Rumors that he might go to the other Red Bull club, going from Austria to Germany, Red Bull Leipzig. Constant rumors that that relationship will bear another transfer for a fee. Arsenal is stepped in, but rumors or a story yesterday that 1 week from today, Szoboszlai needs to give Salzburg a deadline, that he's willing to go elsewhere. And if he says, I want to leave, clubs then have a 14-day, 2-week window to the end of the month before the January window opens, at which time to put forward his transfer fee, which I believe is 24 million euros, correct?
Yeah.
But it was discussed, it was internet chatter that could be paid in 3 installments, which made him a ridiculous bargain. Salzburg is now insisting that it all be paid up front.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Sorry, just with that, I think with Salzburg now, I think that there's truth in it being able to be paid over in three installments, but they say that they've got a market for him now, so they can get the money up front and just move on. But the thing for me with RB Leipzig, if he was going there, I just think it'd all be wrapped up and done by now.
Yeah.
Obviously, a big thing is player choice, and if he had his heart set on going to Germany with Leipzig, he would have already signed. It would already be announced. There wouldn't be that much internal paperwork that needs to be done because it's obviously moving between both Red Bull clubs. But I think where Arsenal have moved for him very early, because the news of him potentially coming to us or us looking at him was probably about 2-3 months ago, and we've been speaking to him since last year, apparently. So we've made our interest very known, very publicly known as well. And for me, I don't think the club would put themselves out there if they wasn't confident of him coming here. So I think that with player choice, I think obviously the news was that Leipzig needs to win to get him there. I just think, as I say, if he was that interested in going to Germany, he'd be there already. But I think that he obviously appreciates us. He likes what Arteta is trying to do and what we're trying to do. So I really think that we've got a very high chance of him being at the Emirates come January.
All right, Ryan, another name, one we all know. We were talking about him endlessly and leading up to our deadline day show, October 5th, all day on deadline day week. After Thomas Partey was announced, we were still frantically refreshing our browsers in those last 2 hours on the off chance that Houssem Aouar was finally something was going to be worked out at the last minute, in the last hour between the clubs, and he was going to come from Lyon to Arsenal. And then in the aftermath, lots of rumors that his brother, who is his agent, may have scuttled the deal. But also, we know that Alas, the chairman of Lyon, drives a hard bargain. He's a notoriously difficult negotiator. Rumors, though, not rumors, obviously, hard news this week that Ligue 1 as an entity is in dire financial straits. We saw a story today that several clubs could go into receivership. It's that bad. Is this a possible matter? We talked about this, that fans were complaining that Edu didn't put the money up, and we all said, well, maybe if he waits, he'll get a better deal. He could get he might get a deal he never imagined if he plays his cards right in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, he could. And I think if he waits until middle of January and just says, here you go, here's 35 million, like the summer, the offer is still there, they'll be like, well, we kind of need to take this because there's no TV money, there's no sponsorship money. We're 100 million euros down in the red here. We kind of need to take as much as we can get. And if there's no bidding war, because Real Madrid still have to sell to buy, Juve, as Riola said, are massively onto Pogba. So they're not going to want to spend money on a war if they can get Pogba. So I can't remember who else was linked. PSG, was it? Maybe? I can't see them.
It was Barca, as you said, but they've got Coutinho, they've got Griezmann in the mid-pack, in the midfield. They got other names. That's a well-stocked midfield.
Yeah, so if there's no bidding war, we've got the best chance. Awar knows our interest is there. He knows Mikel is a big, big fan. Edu just needs to get on the phone to his best friend Janino and cut us a deal, buddy.
All right, to Ryan, our guest, I'm gonna bring up the third name in this three midfielder parlay. One's familiar. He played in the Prem last season. He went down with Norwich City. Emi Buendia, midfielder there. Stronger rumors this week that he's on Arsenal's radar. Could be the third target. Okay, so 3 names. I'm going to let you start. We're going to put this out for everybody else as well. But this is a discussion we were having in the green room, so to speak, before we went live. But 3 names: Buendia, Awar, Szoboszlai. Okay, Arsenal doesn't need all 3. In the fantasy world, it'd be wonderful to have all 3. They don't need all 3. Multi-part question: how many do they need? How many could they realistically get in January? And of those 3, prioritize them. For one being the most important, the most valuable to get. Second, obviously, being the second. And third, for you, your money, the one you could do without.
So I personally think we're only going to get one of them. As far as the type of players they are, I think we really only need one of them for now, because I think we just, watch us play the last couple of weeks. We need a little. I mean, yes, our midfield is definitely our weak spot. Everybody knows this. Our creativity is a weak spot. Everybody knows this, but we need help in a lot of other areas. So I kind of only want one of them. So I would say, to me, my number one choice would be Szoboszlai, if I said that right. And then Szoboszlai, sorry. My pronunciation is pretty awful. And then second, I would go Buendia. He's been really proven. Yes, I don't think he had a great year when his team was up here, but he's used the speed of the Premier League, and I think he could definitely help us out. Szoboszlai is more of a how do I say this in a nicer way? But he's a big boy. He's a big, strong man, and I think he's someone we could use. And he's creative. He scores goals, important goals too. He scored a very big goal for Hungary. I don't know if it qualified them for the Euros or it got him, very close to qualifying. So it's stoppage time, no less. And that leaves Awar. I like Awar. I do. I don't dislike him, but his attitude is not the best. And a couple weeks ago, he threw a fit because he wasn't in the starting lineup, and he got heavily fined. He sat out. He missed a few training sessions. So he's not the type of player that I want to bring to this club, because I don't think he's going to poison an already poisoned bunch. But I think his attitude is not something we're looking for, especially with already dealing with what is already going on, like in the dressing room and the locker room with the senior players.
some food for thought, right? Something we hadn't discussed. Sam, I'm going to give you the same questions. You started off, you only got one player to parse, but 3 names. Okay. How many can Arsenal realistically, can the rest of us realistically expect the club to target and obtain in the January window? We know January is hard. How many do they need, and prioritize the 3?
I think 2 will come in. The need is there for 2, and in order, I would say Sabozalai and Bundia. I think if we were to get them 2 in, and obviously with Partey coming back from injury, that's a brand new midfield. Obviously, once they get gelled with each other, that covers the whole of the pitch, and in very important areas, it gives us that creativity behind the forward 3. That's something obviously that we've lacked obviously all season. With Partey coming in, the forward line, and we've discussed this on the pod previously, Partey's first instinct when he gets the ball is to go forward. The forwards have effectively been a bit lazy in the aspect of not getting onside, not getting into the positions when he's on the ball. But if we've got creativity, we don't always have to go down the wings, because obviously our strength could be through the middle of the park as well as the wings then. But ultimately, if that's going to happen, to get 2 in, it's big decisions at the club, because obviously, as we've discussed already, it's hard to get people out in January. But I'm confident Arteta is looking to get something done, because the noises that he's been making is that he seems very confident that he's going to be willing and dealing this January. So it'll be an interesting watch, definitely.
All right, Ryan, you get to final pass at this, because everybody's got a different take. I'm intrigued by the fact that the first 2 of you, Ryan, Arsblog Ryan, Arsbros Ryan, my apologies, and Sam have both put Awar 3rd. Where would you rank them, Ryan, and our Ryan? And how many can we realistically expect to see in January?
Realistically, I can only see 1, as Ryan said. It's going to be tough shifting our players, and do we really want to not register players, because it kind of makes us look bad as a club, because we're not registering seasoned professionals, and that leaves a bad taste in my mouth anyway. And for me, it goes Awar, Buendia, Sibusley. I'll tell you why. Because Awar, as much as his stats aren't as good as the other 2s, he is very good at taking up the spaces and the pockets that drag defenders away for the striker. So if Aubameyang's playing through the middle, Awar picks up that pocket in between the 2 centre-backs and the midfielder. So one centre-back has to come out, and it leaves space for Aubameyang to run in behind. So we don't always have to go into him. But then when we do go into him, or when the ball does go into him, he is more than capable of taking it on the half turn and driving at a defence. And that is something we lack. We don't have a ball carrier. We don't have a person that progresses the ball themselves. We do it, Joe Willock, but he does it very little. And then Buendia, I think he's an unbelievable talent. I watched him quite a bit for Norwich last season, because I was scouting Max Aarons, who could also be a potential target for next summer. So Buendia, I rate very, very highly. He was in the top 5 for chances created, and he played for Norwich. And he created more than 70% of his team's chances in the Premier League. That is a hell of a lot. So nothing against Sibusley, but I think the other 2 are more sexy signings.
Okay. All right, gentlemen, there is a match coming up in 2 days, another Europa League match, but Arsenal has pretty much kind of wrapped up their group. And then a very important match against Burnley. This is a club desperately needs to start putting points, adding points to their table total. So Ryan, our guest, I'm gonna start with you. This is a topic we were kicking around in the frustration of the second half Sunday, but with those two matches coming up, how much rotation, if you're putting in Mikel Arteta's boots, in his shoes, how much are you going to rotate this squad? Who would you, we half jokingly and only half jokingly, we wish we were joking, but we're half jokingly said he should just put all the Sunday starters out in the Europa League and let all those kids who had so much energy come in and start and get a shot on Sunday. Now, obviously, he's not going to do that, just a full turnover, but who deserves that more important push up to the Prem matches, and who maybe needs to clear their heads and reassess and maybe play on Thursday instead and watch on Sunday?
So it's funny, and again, we talked about this in the green room, and I'm all for playing the kids against Burnley, and I'm all for punishing the senior players and playing them on Thursday. But the fact of the matter is, that's just not going to happen. I don't see Arteta doing that, and I think once Arteta starts to waver a little bit and kind of thinks about doing that, or maybe puts half of the squad on Thursday, I think he'll completely lose the dressing room, which is not something I don't think the board expected, at least this early. But I definitely think you need to. Bellerin has to start on Thursday. Smith Rowe has to start. I really want to see, and I said this again, I'm a big AMN guy. I do want to see AMN against Burnley. I think, no disrespect to the podcast name, but Bellerin's not really doing it for me.
You offend nobody.
But, he's one of the people that, Ryan was talking about how we don't have any people that like to carry the ball and dribble. Bellerin's that guy, but he's a right back. He's not a center midfielder, and he's not a good defender. And I don't want to bash him too much, but I definitely want to see AMN play on Sunday. But I think getting the midfield right, or I should say, really getting the midfield wrong on Thursday is more important, because I really want to see El Neni play on Sunday. I really want to see maybe even AMN. AMN played a little bit of midfield last Thursday, and he played really well. Yes, I know, it wasn't against the greatest competition, but when people talk about how you can't play AMN, you can't play Reece Nelson or Willock in these Premier League games. Well, you really don't know until you try. Yes, I know they've had only a couple of games. AMN's only had one game in field, and he was, to me, he was outstanding. But to kind of shelter these kids who are not really kids anymore, but to shelter them and kind of just say, well, you need more running games in the lower leagues. Well, the lower league games are running out, but or the Europa League games are running out, because this is the last game, and we're going to be going into the knockout stages. And Bellerin, Smith Rowe, as much as I love them, Arteta's not going to trust them for any knockout games. So yeah, I definitely think you got to kind of go all out on Thursday, because this game doesn't really mean anything for us. We already qualified first place at 15 points, and Mold is at 9. So we're gonna see out the group. So I think you got to give some hard minutes to some young guys and really kind of stake their case not even necessarily just in the Premier League, just in the squad, and just kind of have these guys just plant their flag and just say, hey, I'm here too, and kind of give Arteta a little bit of a headache. Not that he already has one, because his experienced players are just completely letting him down.
Sam, I'm going to let you tackle it, but from a slightly different perspective. Ryan did a good job of talking about people who deserve promotion and arguing against demotion. And he raises a good point, but I'm going to say the same thing to you. I mean, we know that there are some senior players Arteta's been given excessive faith in, people like Willian, people like Xhaka, people like Bellerin, who are not always returning the manager's faith in them. Who would you promote against Burnley? Who's worthy of that trial? Since this isn't a big club, it's an important match, but this isn't the biggest club. Who could maybe give this club a spark? Who's not getting the minutes? that they are entitled to.
Well, as I've said on the pod previously, I think Willock is definitely one that needs to have some minutes in that midfield. I think that he brings something different to our midfield, and obviously with Ceballos and Xhaka not being the most athletic, I think with his running it could be a real bonus. But on the flip side of that is that with the other two not being athletic, he's kind of trying to do too much in midfield across the roles, trying to make up for the other two's failures. I really like Nelson. I want to see him be given a chance on the wing. But for me, I think with Reece, I think he's actually better coming in off of the left hand side because he's got that unpredictability of going down the outside and cutting in. I think with the game against Dundalk, just to touch on that game quickly, I want to see Aubameyang start. The reason for this, I want him to get a couple of early goals, a quick early brace, get him to have 45 minutes in the legs, get back on the goal scoring trail, and then take him off. Because I think that he just needs them couple of goals from open play that will boost his confidence. And then from there, I think we'll see a different player. Because you look at him in the last couple of games, he hasn't looked that interested. And I think that a lot of that's down to confidence.
All right, Ryan. Again, you're all right. you're in the manager's seat. Lineup sheet yours. Very important week for a lot of reasons. We discussed them. What changes would you make heading into Burnley? I think we don't. I mean, well, you can talk about the Aurora too. There are some young players, and I would agree with our guest Ryan. I want to see Emil Smith Rowe more than anybody else, but I do want to see some of the other kids out there. But who can shake things up here on Sunday that we don't see on a regular basis?
So my starting 11 for Sunday would be Leno, Cedric, Chambers.
Oh, okay. All right.
Gabriel, Tierney, El Nene, Maitland-Niles, Willock, Nelson, Aubameyang, Saka. That would be my 11.
So you're going as much of a turnover as possible.
Kind of fan me out.
I think Cedric is a much superior right back than Bellerin in both going backwards and forwards. Cedric is better in the final third. He makes the right decision every time. Chambers is our best right-sided centre-back other than Saliba, in my opinion. We lost a lot when he got injured against Chelsea. We would have won that game if he had stayed on the pitch. He doesn't get exposed as much as Rob Holding does because he's played at right back. So if he goes out to the wing to cover for Bellerin or the right back, he's not as in need of help because he knows how to play that kind of position. I think Maitland-Niles and El Nene in midfield would be a good base, engine, athleticism, dynamic running, and it'd just be enough to cover ground. And we're looking in that number 10, fluid 8, whatever Arteta wants to play it. He can really get on the ball and drive at Burnley's defence because I know they play a rigid 4-4-2. So he'll have the gap in between the midfield and the defence to turn and drive and shoot, pass, whatever he likes. And I do think Nelson and Saka on the wings have to play. Nelson just gives you that, as Sam said, that unpredictability. You don't know what you're going to get from him. And that can be a good thing and a bad thing. But he just brings that. You sit up when he gets the ball, you're like, here we go. Something's about to happen. The same with Saka. Recently, Saka's been a bit off for me. His final ball has been a bit iffy. But I'd still start him over Willian because I have had enough of that guy. And Aubameyang through the middle. I think that's
All right. Arspro Ryan, we want to thank you for joining us on the pod. I'm going to give you the final word this week. Some exciting video, Gabi Martinelli. He's coming back. He's not going to be back this week. He's probably not going to be back before the end of the calendar year, but he gives us some hope going forward. Just another weapon in this is very anemic attack. In the short term, because we're all dowsing, we're on the desert with the rod, and we're dowsing for water. We're thirsty here in Arsenal world. What's going to give us? Who's going to quench our thirst? Somebody's going to step up. Somebody's going to score a goal. Somebody's going to make a run. Sooner or later, who's going to kind of let this club and this fan base exhale?
You mean, talking like a certain player?
Yeah.
Yeesh. I don't know.
Shot.
I don't really know if we have that player here. I think a signing or two in January will kind of bring it all together. I think I usually, when I podcast, talk about analogies, and my analogy for this is, with Arsenal, it's like you're tying a shoelace. When Wenger left and we had to start rebuilding, you had to untie the shoelace to retie it. When Emery came in, he double knotted it, triple knotted it, and he tangled it up. And now Arteta has to slowly untie the entire shoelace and get it completely untied to tie it back again. And I think he's still trying to untie the knots that Emery left. And to say who's going to give us that breath of fresh air is rough, because I think, to me, we're constantly getting overrun and outplayed in midfield, and throwing in El Neni and AMN would be a dream. I'm huge fans of theirs. I think they're great. I think they bring, engine and pace, like what Ryan was saying, and they're forward thinking. Maybe not El Neni so much, but they're quick. They want to move the ball quick. Xhaka is slow. He likes to slow the game down. I think we're like second to last in like pace and like tempo. So that needs to get picked up. So I think once this midfield kind of starts to take shape, and Partey hopefully isn't gone for too long, he comes back from his injury, I think our midfield just working together, working as that engine, can kind of facilitate, not necessarily create the chances, because I do think we are somewhat creating more chances. I just think some of these players just aren't putting it together. And I think, honestly, Aubameyang's just been lazy, and I think he's just isn't there, and I think he just doesn't want to play for us. I don't know necessarily for us, or just doesn't want to play. I don't know if he's just motivated. I don't know what I just don't know what his deal is. But I think, getting him motivated would definitely, I think, get us on the right foot. And I think he's someone that's going to score us goals. But the whole Martinelli thing is interesting. I actually watched him play in the U23 game, and he was actually really good. He was linking up with Aziz really well. He was doing little flicks, and he actually had a header on goal, and he almost scored. The goalie made a pretty decent save. It's exciting, but I can't ride all my hopes on this 19-year-old Brazilian kid who I think is just, again, he's a guy that has pace, has an engine on him, and he's willing to work for it, which is something that a lot of these players in this Arsenal squad just seem like they don't want to do. Example, Aubameyang, or like even like a Willian to an extent. But I just think I think it's just completely tying the shoelace together. That's going to make me, at least me personally, it's going to make me exhale, because I just see so many knots in this team that nothing is going to make me exhale.
Sobering analysis. Hey, it is what it is. You're watching the same club we are, and we're watching the same club you are. So, Ryan, we want to thank you for joining us, taking time out from your Arsenal work. It's always good to make contact with other Arsenal pods and other Arsenal communities, and those of you who follow him, who are here. We want to thank you for tuning in today, or listening to us whenever you do listen to us. And we're obviously happy to give you the hype. Well deserved. All right. So again, we've got Europa and Burnley. We've got these gentlemen. Actually, I'm going to let these gentlemen hype. We're working on a new feature for the pod. Sam and Ryan are gonna take it local, give you that local color, and give you some players to watch outside. Where Arsenal is making us sad on Sundays. We're going to give you some players to get you excited, who who might be future Arsenal targets sooner rather than later. One of you, Sam, you wanna tee it up and share this new feature with the fans. You have it right behind you. Look at
Yeah,
that.
so I'll just prop myself up
Yes.
at the old bar there. So as Raf saying is that we're going to be giving some breakdowns on players that
Hilarious.
we would literally think would improve this Arsenal side, and who to look out for in the future, and up and coming gems that could be of potential interest. So we're looking at all sorts of talent right across the field. So it's something to be excited about, and it's something that's coming very soon.
So the box is out of reach. I'm not going to run for it, but I just want to remind all our viewers, all our listeners that 1 week from this Sunday, Southampton, we are giving away the signed Kieran Tierney top to all of the subscribers to our Captain's Level Patreon. I think our engineer's running that or runs that across the bottom. Check that out. We started this new. We're just growing. We have a very limited number of subscribers as we do in the beginning part. So, if you're looking for a real nice gift for yourself this Christmas, think about that. A signed Kieran Tierney top. You can find details on our Twitter feed at SBTB Pod on Twitter. Check us out. All right. Again, for our guest, Ryan, our regular Ryan, and our regular Sam, I'm Raphael, and we bid you good night.